What? Hey everybody, what's going on? It's Lee Kwai Lau with the LFAM Streamers Podcast, and we're coming to you live here today with an amazing story. I'm so excited to have this guest on my show. We've been at it for a minute. We had to wait, but we are bringing to you live somebody who has been through the walks of life, and we'll tell you firsthand that you have to have passion in what you do. You can't just give in to society and think that that's all you're worth. You're worth so much more. And here at the LFAM Streamers Podcast, you know we like to bring you the latest and most inspirational stories. And I want to thank Sneak Energy, one of our main sponsors, and Secret Labs for being amazing sponsors. Sneak Energy is right there in the back. If you guys want to check it out, go sneakenergy.com. And be sure to check out LFAM Streamers music channel on Spotify, iTunes, and more. But let's get into it because our official special guest today is Brimstone.
What's going on, people? Finally, Brimstone is chilling with the LFAM streaming family. Super psyched, super excited. Boys, man, it is early as sin, but we are going to do this, and we're going to have a good time while doing it. Man, oh, man. Now, the only thing I'm missing right now is I'm not playing any video games, and you guys seem to be jamming up the freaking joysticks over there. So I don't know what's happening, but I'm feeling old. I'm feeling like I should be doing something. Maybe I should grab like a Game Boy or something. What do you think? I don't know.
Hey, any type of game works. You know, any type of game. If you play a video game on your phone or Atari, you're a gamer. You know,
there you go.
That's the way we look at it.
There we go.
Thank you so much for joining us, Dow. Much love. Thank you for coming on again. This is Dow. Dow's my co-host. So wherever I go, I bring this guy because he's my 6'4" bodyguard. So
pretty much, yeah.
Nice. 6'4". That's what I'm talking about. Let's throw a couple little lifts on you. You'll be just a little bit bigger, man. I'm telling you, man. You'll take over the wrestling.
I wanted to hit 6'6". I wanted to hit 6'6". I didn't get there, man. I fell short. You know what I mean? Had to go get stretched out. You know what I'm saying?
Man.
But yeah. So we got Brimstone on the podcast. That is high level, man. First and foremost, welcome. You know, thank you for being here. Secondly, how did you pick your finishing move? Because like for everybody has to know. I don't like to say was a wrestler. I think you're always like once you are at the apex in a profession, you never stop being that. You just move on and do other stuff too. You know what I'm saying? But like, how did you pick your finishing move? That's something I've always wanted to know.
So for me, I mean, you know, there's something about a finishing move that you know speaks volumes about the guy who's performing them. And you know, a lot of the things that I'd seen out there, everything was kind of like like some kind of a variation of a power bomb, or you know what I mean, or like something that was just used over and over again at the time. I mean, and I wanted to try to be somewhat innovative, and I'm not gonna lie, I had a little bit of help from my old partner Mayhem, had given me a hand with it while I was trying to figure a few things out. But I knew I wanted it to look big and be big. So what I wound up doing was we started doing things where I'm a ground guy. I can always work and do a little bit of flying, but nothing crazy. Because again, especially now, if I tried, I'd probably kill myself. But what do you call it? I'd go, I'd do a couple of things from the top, but when I went to the top, it meant something. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, I was like, listen, I want to put somebody, up on the ropes, but I don't want to be climbing up. I don't want to be doing all this, razzmatazz trying to jump up there and do something super crazy where I'm falling as well, because I don't want to have to take that bump. I was a little lazy, but that being said, I figured, let me do something where whoever I'm working with, all they have to do is kind of like pull a monkey flip, and we'll make it look big and bad. So I'd put them up, I'd sit them on the top rope, grab their wrists, and I flipped around, making an X. And then it was like a down-up motion. They knew when to jump. They would do the monkey flip over me, and I'd set out with it, and then it would go right into a pin. And it looked badass when we were doing it. So what do you call it? it caught fire, and people were really interested in the finisher. So Zabulba was born, the entrance to hell, and
That's dope.
you know, it was,
I
it was a lot
can't.
of
That
fun.
is dope.
I can't see anything lazy about that finisher. Man, you had to draw it up on a poster board or something. You know what I'm saying? Like Madden with the X's and O's. That is phenomenal, and it looks amazing.
Thank
That's,
you.
that straight had
Yeah.
a blueprint plan.
Yeah, you know,
Yeah.
that was a big deal.
Well, you know, you have to put thought into it. It's just, you know, entertainment in general. You know, I've been in entertainment since I was 5. You know, I started on Sesame Street and Romper Room. Then I toured the world of music. Then I toured in wrestling. You know what I mean? And, you know, the fact is that you have to have something that's going to stand out, you know, in order for you to survive in the industry. People think that the industry is so easy. And I'm talking about entertainment in general. You know, entertainment, you have to have that something special. You have to have that it factor. And people like to make fun or laugh when I say you have to have that it factor. Well, it's true. You know what I mean? If you don't have that it factor, it's never going to happen. But even if you have that it factor, it still might not happen if you're not giving 200%. So, you know,
Yep.
for me, you know, I always try to do, you know, my 100 and then another 50 to 100% on top of that 100 to make sure that I'm kind of coming through with everything that needs to come through in order to succeed. And, you know, thankfully, you know, over the years, I've done pretty well in you know, kind of building myself and building my brand and, you know, knowing who I am. And one of the coolest things about everything is I am unapologetically authentic. You know what I mean? And that's it. You know what I mean? If I say something, you can take it at face value. You know what I mean? And when I tell you, you know, I put work into something, you know, I put work into it. And you know, it's crazy because a lot of the boys, you know, a lot of the boys, especially where I came up, you know, from the doghouse, you know, Queens, New York. What do you call it? You got it's guys like Homicide and Low Key and, you know, Reefer and, you know, Papa Don. You know, you got big guys that have, if they weren't working, you know, the you know, the big you know, WWE or you know, TNA or whatever, you knew them from the indies, and they still had big name value. And a lot of guys came from the doghouse, and you know, there were a lot of boys there that were very innovative. But when I saw people like on the indie circuit, you know, it's like they you know, very simple. You know, there were a lot of people that just they didn't, and I'm not knocking anybody, but there were a lot of people they didn't put a lot of time and effort, whether it was into their gimmick or into their moves or their set of moves or, you know, how to work a crowd. Like, it's a craft. You know, the business is a craft, and
Yeah.
you really need to know how to work it. And was I great when I first came out? Hell no, man, I really wasn't. And was I great when I finished? No, I wasn't. But I think I was pretty damn decent. You know, I knew how to work a crowd. I took pride in my gimmick, and you know, if I didn't take pride in my gimmick, I wouldn't have been able to do the things that I've done thereafter, because I built a comic book, you know, a business, an empire off of my wrestling persona. I then, you know, have taken that into foodie brands and this and that and the next thing. So, you know,
Yeah.
even though I'm not in the ring physically anymore, Brimstone is still an entity within entertainment. So, you know what I mean? And that
Yeah.
it's like, you know, you have to continue to rebuild and you know, rejuvenate and you know, what's the best way to put it? You know, like repackage yourself in order to stay relevant. And you know, again, I'm not the biggest name in the bunch. I know that, and I get that. I know where I am on the totem pole, but I'm also on the totem pole. You know what I mean? So,
That's
Yeah.
it.
so
Hey,
that should say something.
absolutely. Every
So,
you know, you got and that much respect, because you just hit on an important part. People, you have a passion in life. Whatever you do, don't stop doing what you want to do, is what he's basically saying to you. And it just because, you know, age gets up there doesn't mean that you have to say, okay, I'm cashing in, I'm giving up, I'm going to try something. No, actually, you can keep being who you are and doing what you love. Just reinvent it on how you do it. Sometimes, you know, you might not be that surfer that's competing, and then now you're a surfer who's commentating, or you're a surfer that's making special guest series in person. So, like, there's so much you could do. But with you, from what I seen, you know, you went back to your roots a little bit, as well as growing that personality into something even bigger, and being a wrestler. You know, people don't realize I meet a lot of wrestlers. I'm in Florida. Florida is wrestling central. I mean, there's like so many wrestlers here. And from the likes of Kevin Nash and all these people you meet, like, guys, they train hard, and let's face it, you're no dummy. You're no dummy. And you can't be when you're doing these type of tricks and stuff inside a ring. You're putting your life on the line every single night. I mean, something could go wrong. And I just have mad respect for you guys, because ever since I was a little kid and watching it, you know, you're going in there and you're putting everything on the line to make that entertainment factor. And I think it's awesome that you bring it to life even now. I mean, look, just your bio alone at the real guys, go to his website or go to his Instagram. If you haven't read his bio, you guys need to check this out. All right. TheRealBrimstone.com and read his bio. I mean, this amazing.
I'd like to think there isn't any fluff in there either. I mean, that's that's actually legit. Everything there is like hardcore, you know what I mean? Just facts. And you know what, and what's really funny is that that bio is not even anywhere near in terms of complete, that it really, you know, there's a lot more that I have that I don't add, because it's just, one, way too much, and two, you know, it's not of interest to fans. You know what I mean? It comes off better when I'm doing stuff and having conversations, you know, in interviews and you know what I mean? Where especially when I do like a lot of the business interviews, people are astonished that I have a very big business mind and a business background. You know what I mean? I run two businesses. You know, I also have my licensed products all over, you know, all over market. So, you know, like people are very astonished when they realize that, you know, where I've been and what I've done and what I've accomplished, you know, in the business world as well as in entertainment. And, you know, it's pretty crazy. And, you know, look, I try to be as humble as possible, but I also can't say, you know, well, how do I downplay anything that I've done? You know what I mean? Like it's sometimes it'll come off like where you know, like what I just said, you know, like well, people are astonished. I'm not saying that to try to raise my value there. I'm saying that because people look at me and on first glance they go, oh, look at this guy. He probably has half a brain. Oh, he was a wrestler. Yeah, I don't want to talk to this dude, bro. Exactly. Like where we met on what was it, Pod Match?
Yep.
You know what I mean? Where we met on Pod Match, I can't tell you how many people like what do you call it, like match up with me on Pod Match, and I send a message and they don't even bother looking at my bio or anything that I do. They just go straight for the, you know, like oh yeah, no, I don't like the way he looks, he's not going to do well with me. You know what I mean? My audience isn't going to like him. but you know, and then they just click you know, well, we're not matching. And it's funny because I actually will call people out on that and just be like, hey, you know, funny enough, I took the time to read through your stuff and see that I'm the perfect fit for your
oh yeah, for sure,
for your show. And what do you call it? Because, you know, I have to have some tenacity as well. But I was like, you know, at the end of the day, you know, and it's good practice, it's good sales, and, you know, type of a thing there, you know, to kind of come back at them. And I'm just like, in a nice way and respectful way, and say, look, I don't know if you bothered looking at the bio, but I fit directly into what your podcast is about, or your, you know, this is about or that's about. I said, so, you know, I don't know if you're basing it on looks or the fact that, you know, I'm you know, a guy with a big beard and long hair and earrings and, you know, Brimstone, it's scary, woo, you know, like, but at the end of the day, you know, if you give it, you know, take a look, maybe you'll have a different outcome. And it's funny because at least one thus far, there are others that have apologized and have set things up, but what do you call it? There is one that flat out said, you were right, and what do you call it? We took a look and we realized that you are the perfect fit, and we'd love to have you on. And I did it, and they apologized to me on air.
Judge a book by its cover.
Judging a book, yeah. They apologized, and they were the sweetest people, and I love them to death, and you know, and I support. But the fact is that, you know, a lot of people today, you know, will judge books by their cover still to this day.
Yep.
And that's why we have so many issues with so many different things, where we have the, you know, the different movements that still have to be here, like Black Lives Matter, you know, Stop Asian Hate, you know, even on the police side, you know what I mean? Because they're wearing blue, you know, people automatically think they're bad. there's good and bad in everybody. You know what I mean? And the fact is that you should always assume the good, and you should always assume the positive before making a judgment on someone. You should
Absolutely.
sit and have a conversation. And if it doesn't work, no worries, no harm, no foul. But judging a book by its cover, whether it's, by their visual, whether it's because of the way I look, the way you look, the way, it's how it
Yep.
looks, doesn't make a difference. You know what I'm saying? It's disgusting, and it shouldn't be happening in 2021. You know
No,
what I mean?
absolutely
This
not.
happened years
Absolutely
ago.
not.
So
I agree. And I'm multicultural, and I tell people all the time, I'm a definition of American. I got Cree Indian, Spanish, I got Nigerian blood, and I
uh,
tell people in my family, you know, I have cousins, blonde hair, blue eyes. I have cousins that are darker than you can imagine. You would be like, wow, this is the same family. Yes, it's the same family. But here's the thing: this America, America is a melting pot for the world. And that's why I can never ever just solely call myself one type of race, because I know I'm not. I'm so much more than that. Inside of this book, there is so much more to my book.
but here we are. You are one race. You're the human race. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Yeah.
And
Yep.
and that's what people need to understand, is that we are the human race, and people need to start, running with that rather than all the freaking hate. We
Yes.
won't go more political than that. That's it. And that's not political. That's just, human nature. But I'm actually curious, because I know that a little something about you that I thought was very interesting. Your name was given to you by a monk. Am I
Yeah.
correct?
Yes, it was.
I want to hear about that. I don't know if your audience knows about that, but I want to
Yeah.
know about
So Lee Kwai Lao, Lao is my family's last name on my mom's side. On my dad's side, my dad's side's family actually from Los Angeles, Compton, all that area. And when
that.
I started
Representing right there.
represent when I started training as a young kid in martial arts, my mom put me in martial arts to help control my ADHD and my Asperger's autism. I didn't
Right.
speak, but I had this unique ability of drawing portraits at 4 years old, doing math equations, playing instruments, and being really good at sports and stuff, because you're so in your head. But what happened down the road was I got with a teacher. And when I got with a teacher, I started training more and more with different teachers and learning different arts, only to become affiliated with the Shaolin arts along the way. And what was cool was he was given the name Li Kuai at the Wushu tournaments over in China when he won like 6 gold medals. And
Hmm.
after that, training with him, he saw how serious I was with my training, how hard I trained, and everything from iron palm and all this stuff. Like, you're pushing your body to its limits. And he'd be like, man, you're crazy. Like, you come from doing, Bushido or Aikido or Jiu-Jitsu, and you drive all the way out here and you still train, and then you leave here at 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning and go back. Like, you're insane. And I was like, I love doing it. I love it. Like, it's a part of me. Like, I felt alive when I train. And so down the road, he knew my last name was Lao, and he ended up giving me the name Li Kuai Lao. And it was like such an honor to be given that name, because of my training and what I did. And Li Kuai Lao has always stuck with me, and it's a reflection of my life. The colors, the Shaolin colors with the orange and black. I want people to know, because in Shaolin, mind, body, and soul is so important. And your flexibility in your body, and being one with the earth and everything, it's so important that you embrace these cultures, because we all share something similar in life. And that's the fact that we live in this world. And this
Hmm.
world, we have to realize we're not in control of it. It's in control of itself. And if we could come in harmony with it, we have a better chance of finding and doing what we love in life and living a beautiful life. But when we're out of harmony, we fall apart. That yin and yang has to have a sync. And so that's how Li Kuai Lao was born. And with it, it became my nickname. It became my stream name. It became my podcast name, and so much more. And at the same time, I'm happy that I could spread the story of me getting a name through a temple. It's pretty cool.
That's pretty awesome. And it's funny you said Wushu. So one of my very, very dear friends, Ray Park, is that's what he does Wushu. So
Yep.
what do you call it? There's not many people that I know that actually do Wushu. And
Yeah, I
yeah,
actually know Ray, which is dope. You got to check out on the podcast. Steve Coleman actually came in when Ray was leaving Great Britain's Team Wushu, and he went on to become 7-time world champion. He's still part of the Great Britain's Wushu team.
Oh wow!
But Steve Coleman surpassed Ray Park as he left and went into movies. And Steve Coleman's done a lot of movies now with Michael Bay and all these other guys, but he still does wushu at a competitive level at 41 years of age. Like, the guy is phenomenal.
It's crazy. That's awesome. I wish I was still in that good shape. I need to.
But I mean, let's talk about you, because like, this is what I find amazing. You had an amazing wrestling career. You went in, you did your thing, and then you went from acting to wrestling. I just want to know, in a short, we'll go through it real quick, because there's so much to your bio, and I want to touch on everything. I went
from acting to music, actually. So music was my first real love. What do you call it? So I was a child actor. I did, child work on, kid work on what do you call it? Sesame Street and Romper Room. Yeah. And it was really funny because my mother passed away about 3 years ago. And we finally just sold the house, but we were going through everything, and we actually found my contract with Children's Television Network, which was crazy. Yeah, and my agent papers. I didn't even realize that I had multiple agents when I was 5 and 6. That's crazy. That is crazy. So yeah, and I found all that paperwork. So eventually that'll go into the book as well. Like, I started writing, my story a long time ago, but I'm going back in, and I paused it. I was like, there's a lot more that's going to need to be added. And I held off, and I'm glad I did, because now my biography will be, much, much better than it would have been prior. And, but anyway, I went from the acting to music, because I was young. I wanted to be a big comic book artist. I was infatuated with Marvel and definitely a little bit of DC, just a little bit of DC. What do you call it? Let's not give them too much credit. And what do you call it? And then God knows their movies are awful. But what do you call it? That being said, but I was a huge G.I. Joe mark. I mean, I loved G.I. Joe, and that was life when I was a kid. And I was very into both, which is funny. Again, I've had a lot of full circle moments in my life and in my career. And it's funny because my life as a kid was G.I. Joe and Star Wars and stuff like that.
Voltron?
And Ray,
was Voltron in it?
And Voltron. What do you call it? Matter of fact, my son has the old school full Voltron upstairs in his room. What do you call it? But I have, full circle, now Ray Park, who did Snake Eyes until this new movies. I'm very upset that Ray's not in this new movie.
I know oh my God. How could you not? I mean, the guy is so good.
Right.
That pissed me off, but it is what it is. So, but now he's one of my good friends. What do you call it? Larry Hama, I've known for many years, who did the Snake Eyes character, in the comics, and you know what I mean? It's like a full circle type thing. And Star Wars with the Darth Maul deal, and what do you call it? And Chewbacca, Peter was a very good friend of mine for many,
Darth
many
Maul
years.
Was so good.
So it's like, there's so many things that have come full circle. But when I was a kid, I wanted to be this comic book artist. So I didn't become this comic book artist, even though I can draw. What do you call it? am now a comic book character and an animated character and kid book character and so forth, as Brimstone. And what do you call it? And then I also do the voice work for a bunch of other things. But the full circle moment with the comics is that, yeah, now I own a comic book company. I am a comic book character, and I'm the celebrity spokesperson for the Stan Lee Foundation. And Stan was a friend of mine. So the person that I looked up to, you know what I mean, back in the day, was one of the guys that became one of my good friends. It's crazy how full circle things have come, and
wow.
It's happened in that. And then I went into music. My first true love was music. And I was, I started in elementary school where they give you the recorder and rap music. And, some people can do it beautifully, but not me. And then you've got, then they made you do either violin or the what do you call it, or the was it the cello or something, whatever. But
Mhm.
so I did violin. That was god awful. And what do you call it? And again, people can play it beautifully, not me. And then what do you call it? When as soon as they opened it up for band, I wound up having the opportunity, and I took drums and percussion. So I what do you call it? I became a drummer, and still a drummer through through and through. And what do you call it for? So I felt what we were talking about before we got on air.
Yep.
For me, like drumming also saved me because I grew up in Uniondale, New York. I was a, what do you call it? People might know it from the Nassau Coliseum. Also, like Leaders of the New School, Busta Rhymes, and all of them. I grew up with those cats. Those are friends of mine from Leaders, and like the thing is like getting involved in music saved me because I was also the kid that was involved with, going in and getting into, the street brawls and, all that other garbage in other towns. And, like I was the only white kid in there throwing down. So it was a very interesting time back in the day. But, getting into music kind of took me away from that. And then I wound up getting into bands and I wound up touring, at a young age with that. That is when I really made the tweak, where I was like, all right, this is what I want to do for a living. This is what I want to be in entertainment. I don't care what facet of entertainment it is, but I want to be in entertainment. But that helped me learn how to guerrilla market. It helped me learn how to, kind of build relationships.
Yeah, because you kind of become
Learn
your
how,
own
the
promoter
ins and
at that
outs of
point.
Yeah, yeah,
touring.
yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. Touring, all that stuff. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I
So
learned a lot. I learned a lot. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, you're fine. So I got a question for you. I think it was
Sure.
Evander Holyfield that said, it's really hard to wake up in the morning when you're sleeping in silk sheets. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
what keeps you so hungry? Like this, you have the comic books. You know what I mean? You have all the things that you have going on. What keeps you as motivated as you are? Do you have? And this is the second part of the question. Do you have a data where you say, all right, I've done everything that I need to do. Now it's time just to kick back and relax. Do you have that in you, or do you have an off switch? You know what I mean?
No,
I don't think
no,
he does.
I don't have an
I
off
think he
switch.
loves it. I think it's just a part
Yeah.
of him.
Yeah, I listen until I'm higher up on the totem pole. That like I'm in a good place on the totem pole. Very happy with where I am, and I've succeeded a lot. But
Yeah,
like I'm never satisfied. You know what I'm saying?
I'm
Like
not either.
I'm
Yeah,
satisfied, and my goal is to leave a long lasting legacy, something that people will remember me well after I'm gone. And what do you call it? And that my family will be taken care of for generations. That's what I'm looking to leave behind. In terms of that. So me stopping anytime soon, probably not. But what do you call it? In terms of the first part of the question, oh my God, I got to remember what you asked. Oh my God, it was there and it just switched off. What was the first part of the
the
question
first part
again?
of the question, basically, what keeps you as motivated as you
Yeah,
are?
that's
Yep.
it.
Yeah,
Okay. One, leaving the legacy. Two, family, which of course is everything to me. Anybody who looks at my social media or anything knows that, I'm all about my wife and my kids and what do you call it? But I'm also all about my business. So it's a nice balance. And what do you call it? And to be completely honest, what do you
mm,
call it? Hate and the no's, all negativity and
Yeah.
hate. So the people that tell me I can't do something or talk smack, I'm like, well, I guess I'm gonna have to show them. You know what I mean?
I love those logs. Throw those logs on the fire. Throw them.
Yeah. So you want to hate on me? Like the people that there's just as much hate and BS and smack talking about me online as there is positive stuff. Because if I wasn't doing anything, there wouldn't be, anything. You see what I'm saying? So like, at least I know I'm succeeding and I've succeeded because there's so much hate. And when people throw that shade at me, bro, I take that as an advantage to sit and just put on some more suntan lotion, sunblock, and then step right back into my freaking sun. You know what I mean? Because I just it doesn't phase me. All it does is motivate me. Because it's
yeah,
like, well, if you are taking the time out of your schedule to bash me, you have nothing better to do than to do that. Well, then I'm gonna give you more of a reason to bash me. You know what I
hmm
mean? And that's that. And it's funny and it's comical because if people spent more time on their own projects or they're in their own lives, they wouldn't have to sit and maybe they'd be successful themselves. You know what I mean? But they can't. People aren't built that way. People are unfortunately they're very, very, negative. And again, like we were talking about earlier in the conversation, negative people are running this world at this point. You know what I mean? There's so much negativity, so much division, and people just, instead of just appreciating or just not saying anything, people want to come at you. You know what I mean? You fart in the wrong direction. Oh, that guy farted. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's like, think about it, even when you guys are gaming, you're sitting in gaming and you're like going back and forth, and then you've got these, even the kids are worse than the adults. Like, oh, your mother sucks my, whatever. Blah, blah. It's like, where are you getting this crap? Like, grow the hell up. Yeah. Like, like, I'll smack talk with the best of them, but at the end of the day, I'll only do it when I'm working, you know what I mean? Or when I need to do it. I mean, there's no need to hate. I am for everybody. And I listen, if I can do it, you can do it, but you got to work for it. You know what I mean? Yeah. And if you're going to hate on me, it's all good. All it does is motivate me. So if you want to stop me from doing the things that I do, then stop being motivational. Right. I'm still going to do it, but you can stop being motivational. But you know what I'm saying.
100%.
Man, so so you go into this career, obviously, a music, a beautiful passion. It really is. You do meet amazing people in the music industry along the way. And then all of a sudden it jumps into a career of wrestling. Is that what happens?
So I went into wrestling after that. It was a what do you call it? It was an interesting progression there. So when I was playing, I was also at the time working for some major publications. So if you're familiar with New York at all, you probably heard of the Village Voice. And the Village Voice actually had a pet project at the time called the Long Island Voice. So on where I'm from, so Long Island, rather than working in the Village, I was working on the island, and they brought me in to do all the bars and clubs and so forth in terms of advertising and stuff like that. So what do you call it? And the reason they did that is because they knew I had all these big time developed relationships with every club owner, the bars, everybody on the island and in Manhattan, because I did my job, So that being said, I wound up taking control of that area, and I was doing all this stuff, and I was a workaholic. So I'd be in there, and what do you call it? One of the higher ups came up, and they're like, "Listen, we have one of our reporters, Bill Jensen, who I knew. What do you call it? It was going to a small like wrestling convention to talk to some of the boys there. What do you call it? And they were short on photographers, and they knew I did photography as well, because at that time I was published photographer too. See, that's not in my bio. What do you call it?
There's something that can be done, Brimstone will do it. That's that should be like your headline.
He's hungry. the guy, if you're sitting at home watching TV, you're gonna feel so bad if you spend your time watching TV after listening to this.
Yeah, and so I what do you call it? So they asked if I would do them a favor and go with him to do some of the photos for this event, and I was like, yeah, sure, why not? Because they knew I liked wrestling and they knew I knew how to shoot. So they gave me one of the cameras. I went with Bill, and turns out I wound up meeting a lot of people that became my friends later on in life and career. And what do you call it? And it was filled with legends. I mean, look, I met what do you call it, Bill? What do you call it? Demolition Axe, there, and what do you call it? Later on, I wound up tagging with Blast as which was he was the part of Demolition outside in the Indies, you know what I mean, and I was an honorary Demolition team member from that. And then it's like what do you call it, Earthquake I met, and Quake was what do you call it, and then later on Quake had asked me to be an honorary natural disaster when Typhoon couldn't make it, Fred couldn't make it out to an event, so I worked with him and tagged with him for that. So there are a lot of things that I did based on this, you know what I mean? It's just weird how everything worked out. But again, the make a long story longer, what do you call it? I wound up walking over to, we had done the photos and I was walking around and, and as I was walking up to Sheik, Iron Sheik,
Oh wow.
Sheik, he looks at me and he's like, you look like you could be a wrestler. I train you to be a wrestler. And, what do you call it? He starts going into this and starts talking to me about it. And, what do you call it? Then his agent, what do you call it? Eric Sims, at the time, I don't know if he's still working with him now, but Eric, what do you call it, is, started what we call in the business working me. And he's like, yeah, you can come here, blah, 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 and you can do that, and you can pay this. And I'm like, whoa, hold on a minute. That's not what I was thinking, and what do you call it? And Bret Hart had actually overheard, and Bret was walking by. He was about to go catch a ride to his flight. He was leaving, but he knew that I was there, with the publication. So I wasn't like a fan. So, he called me over. He said, look, if I heard your conversation with Sheik and so forth, and if you're really interested in getting involved in the business, here's my email address. If I could be of any help, trying to put you in the right direction, let me know. And I was like, okay, I appreciate it. It was very real, very down to earth. And, about a month or two later, I was looking through a magazine and that was when I found the doghouse was opening up. And I shot him an email and I said, what do you think? And, he told me what to look out for, and that's what I looked out for. And, that was history. That's how I got into wrestling. And I got out of music because I was sick of being in a 5-way marriage. So the timing was perfect. I needed a break. And what do you call it? And I needed to get out of music just for a hot minute, just to take a breather. And then who'd have known that I would have gotten into something that would have basically built my career, and given me my namesake. So that being said, years later in San Antonio, funny enough, I'll be in San Antonio in August. I was signing for the San Antonio Comic-Con, and I remember walking in to the, what do you call it, to the hotel. And it's funny you'd mentioned Nash earlier. So it was Hall and Nash, and a couple other boys were at the bar, and Bret was there. And I hadn't seen Bret since then. I mean, our paths never crossed after. I never spoke to him after that. I didn't have, it was AOL days. I didn't have his email address anymore. So it was like, so I went over, I said hello to everybody. And then what do you call it? I said to Bret, hey, I'd like to talk to you for a minute. And I reintroduced myself, and I said, you probably don't remember, but it's because of you that I have, had this opportunity to do everything that I do now. And, and I wanted to thank you for it. And I'm sure he did not remember, but he appreciated me saying it. And that was that. But at least I got the opportunity to say thank you for giving me, you know what I mean, and inspiring me to kind of do this. And what do you call it? And it was the same thing for music. What do you call it? Like Tommy Lee from Motley Crue was like my guy for music. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like now he was one of them, him, Rod Morgenstein, all which I know now. You know what I mean? Fred Coury from Cinderella, and also hip hop, guys, from people from Run DMC. DMC is my boy now. And you know what I mean? All these different, people that, I looked up to that are now later on in life, friends of mine.
That's
that I
nuts.
was able to say thank you for giving me, the what do you call it? The inspiration,
Yep.
you know what I mean? Because they didn't give me that opportunity, but they gave me the inspiration to do it. You know what I mean? They inspired me. Tommy Lee, and it was the same thing, like Tommy Lee, I was trying, we were supposed to be in the same place at events for numerous occasions, and every single time it became a joke with my wife and I. She's like, oh, it's the unicorn again, huh? Because every single time something happened and either I couldn't make it, he couldn't make it, it was always a thing, until finally I was signing at a tattoo convention in in New York. And it's a long story, and I won't get into it now because of time's sake. But the one of the head security guards that was at the casino, he knew me well from signing there so often. So, and then he knew that I wanted I wanted to, at some point meet Tommy just to have a conversation. And because I don't fanboy, that's not my thing. I've been around a long time. I don't care about anybody.
No.
There are people that I'd like to meet, to have a conversation with. And sure enough, he brought me in, and I met Tommy, and I told him the whole story, and we laughed and shook hands, took some pictures, thanked him for everything. He was so humbled by it, and it was a good It was a good thing. And what's funny is that a lot of people say don't meet your heroes. And I can tell you firsthand when from signing at these conventions, there are a lot of people that you sure as hell don't want to meet in person. But what do you call it? In all of my personal instances, I've been very, very, everything's been well received, and I've had nothing but positive experiences with them. So, that's a good thing.
I think this is an important thing that people need to realize. Like, you and I wouldn't have found each other if it wasn't for that relationship and that passion down the road that leads you to finding somebody. And on top of that, only to find out that we both know somebody else in return that knows somebody else in return. And again, relationships, don't burn bridges, people. Don't judge book by the cover. And more importantly, if you're passionate about something, do it. And I think that's the most important thing people need to realize when they go check out therealbrimstone.com or The Real Brimstone on Instagram. People, there's a reason. There's a reason why, on Instagram alone, he's got 55,000 followers. There's a reason for that. It's because he's inspiring people and his story's legit. He's he's somebody just like you. He's somebody just like me, just like thou. He just followed his heart. And I think that's the important thing as we come up here and we start to end it on the next couple minutes here so we don't push over for time. I want to thank you because I think people need to hear this. People need to hear like why they have to inspire themselves and inspire off of negativity instead of feeding off it and going backwards. What do you think, Thao?
I think you're right. I think if you let negativity push you backwards, you're gonna be pushed all over the world. You know what I'm saying? You have to happen in life and not let life happen to you. That's just what has to happen. And sometimes you just wake up and that thing wakes up inside of you and just make sure it never goes to sleep again. You know what I mean? Keep that with you and keep going forward. Always look for the next plateau.
If just for the audience,
I heard this proverb. It said, you climb the mountain so you can see the world, not so the world can see you. Man, that spoke to me.
That's awesome.
Ooh, that was a big one. Yeah.
If fans want to see where you're at your next event or signings and things like that, what's the easiest way for them to track you down, Brimstone, and see where you're going to be next?
Well, my first signing back, I'm going to be doing Celebrity Fan Fest August 2nd, 3rd, and 4th over in San Antonio, Texas at Fiesta Six Flags Fiesta. Sorry about that. So what do you call it? So I will be there. Anybody in the Texas area that wants to come swing by and see me. Definitely gonna enjoy seeing fans again. What do you call it? But you can check therealbrimstone.com. What do you call it? Everything is always up to date there, where I'm going to be, what I'm doing, and social media, guys. If you want to, follow me, especially on Instagram at The Real Brimstone. It's verified. You'll know it's me. What do you call it? There are a lot of fakes out there. So please, find me, interact with me. If you engage on my posts, it's not my wife, it's not my intern, it's not my assistant, it's me responding to you. Like I said, unapologetically authentic. I will always respond as long as you're being respectful. And even if you're not being respectful, I'll probably respond and give you something back. But at the end of the day, I prefer respectful people that want to engage. Sit there and let's have fun together, man. That's what it's all about. Everybody,
Absolutely.
Kind of having fun together and enjoying life. And you know what? If you have a question about the industry, you have a question about the business, and if I can help you, I'll try to help you. I'm all about that. You have a question about podcasting, I'll try to help you. Also, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every Thursday night, the Grindhouse Radio comes out. What do you call it? If you want to check that out, we're hitting between 3.5-4 million listeners weekly worldwide.
Love it.
We'll add you guys on as well. There's always a special guest on. Always have one of my friends that's popping.
We would love to be. I'm down.
Yeah,
I'm down, brother. And next time you come to Florida, you let me know, because brother, I am taking you out. Now, we're not gonna go, binge drinking, but we're gonna have a good time, man. I'll take you fishing and stuff like that. We'll have a good time. Maybe do some airboating. We're gonna do some crazy stuff in the Dirty South. But I appreciate you, Brimstone, coming on here, sharing your story, a bit of your story, and I hope we can have you on again and
Absolutely.
just go over some of your future projects. I know we can't talk about them right now because they're top secret, but there's a lot of good stuff coming out, guys, from acting and all this stuff. I can't say a whole lot, but I'm looking forward to it when it comes out and you can talk about it. Please let me be that face that interviews you.
Yeah, I can let you know, little hint. I do have a reality series that I'm doing with my son. So that is going to be currently in pre-production, and that's what's taking up a good portion of time right now. I also have a couple of different cartoons that I'm doing, some of them for big players, some of them not, and then I also have a couple of video games that are currently in the works. And so there's a lot that's going on all at once, and I wouldn't have it any other way. But you can always catch up. Like I said, follow me on social. You'll see what's going on. You get little tidbits when possible. And, for any hardcore fans out there that are interested, you can always join Team Brimstone. What do you call it? It's on Insta, but you can go and apply on my official website at, therealbrimstone.com. In contact, you'll see Team Brimstone pops up, and you can always apply there. So I appreciate it.
Awesome. I appreciate it. Me and Thao appreciate you being here. I said all best wishes and prayers and blessings to you, your wife, and family. Tell her thank you for allowing us to have you here. And I greatly appreciate you, Brimstone. I look forward to our next interview because you are an inspiration to a lot of people, and I love that.
Yeah, you are.
Greatly appreciate it, guys. Thanks for having me.
You got it.
More than welcome.